Back. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas. I am joined by Stewart Rhodes of oathkeepers.org. And during the break, we were talking about some people in office who are, patriots, who are doing the right thing on the state level and the local level. You throw a couple of those guys out there.
Well, the biggest example I can think of is Joel Bonnick of Montana. There you got a guy who's a hunting guide. That's been his career all his life. First-time citizen legislator in the legislature of Montana. He is the author of the Made in Montana gun bill, and also was instrumental in getting the sovereignty resolution proposed as well in Montana. Stand-up constitutionalist. He's part of the after effect of the Ron Paul revolution. He was a Ron Paul guy. And as I said on the break, he didn't even need Campaign for Liberty to get elected. His neighbors did it. All he needed was a local community. And they knew he was honest, had integrity. You cannot support anyone for office that doesn't have knowledge of the Constitution. They don't know the Constitution, forget it. That's criteria number one. If they don't know it, they can't defend it. But number two, they got to have courage and integrity, because knowledge without courage is useless. Courage without knowledge is useless. So you get a guy who's got both knowledge and courage, and has demonstrated courage. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they've done. Show me where in their life they've ever done something where they stood up and did what was right, even at personal cost. That's the guy you want. And the best thing you can do is go find someone who doesn't want the office, who doesn't want to be a politician. Go find that guy or gal and then talk them into running. Prick their conscience about their duty to serve their country as a citizen legislator. That's what you want. The person who wants it really bad is not the right one.
And, the other thing we talked about, people having an effect going to these town hall meetings, and you were discussing a disgruntled veteran that got up before these people, chewed the guy out, got it out on YouTube, and hundreds of thousands of people have seen it.
Right, that was David Hedrick in Washington State. And as far as I'm concerned, a veteran has an obligation under his oath to speak out and call to the carpet anybody in political office who is violating their oath. Call them on it. If they're violating their oath, say, hey, wait a minute. I don't care whether the policy is a good idea or not. What's constitutional? If you're violating the Constitution, I'm going to call you on it. It's my duty as a veteran, still oath-bound, to point out when you're violating your oath. And if you will not obey your oath, I'm going to replace you at the next election. And if I have to, I'll run myself, which is what David Hedrick is doing against that congressman.
And there's never been a better time to do so. You feel it in the air with shows like Jesse Ventura's getting on the air, Alex Jones getting bigger than ever, people waking up at least partially to these tea parties and going out and saying, yeah, we are being taxed to death. Nothing is changing for the better. Now is the time to take charge.
It is
for the worse.
No, but here's the thing is as things get bad from the top down, it's getting better from the bottom up. We are taking back our counties. In Clark County, Nevada, the 912 people and the Ron Paul people got together, and the Tea Party people, and took back the Central Committee of the Clark County Republican Party and also the state of Nevada Republican Party that's now run by constitutionalists. Okay, so it can be done at the bottom up. It's happening. Guys like Joel Bonnick, there are other ones across the country, in state legislatures all over the place. You get the Patrick Henry Coalition. You heard about that, right? It's a coalition of hardcore constitutionalists in state legislatures who are coming together and cooperating, like a committees of safety and correspondence kind of thing. But they're cooperating. That's why you're seeing all the sovereignty bills, all the Made in Tennessee gun bill now, and other states are copying the Montana legislation. They're all passing a lot of the same legislation. That's a very good sign. From the bottom up, it is coming, it is happening, and that's why you have a risk of the elites going, oh, holy cow, if we don't stop this, they're going to replace us. Because the strength is down here in we the people. It's not an upside-down pyramid. It's a pyramid that starts right down here. And they understand that. The real power has always been and always will be in our hands. They understand that, but the way they want to shut it down, they don't want you and I to communicate with anybody else or each other, so they want to shut down your free speech, which is what they're doing right now.
Well, the elite have always tried to really establish their power base above everybody else and control those below them so that they cannot attain the political office or the corporate, establishment that they've been able to do. They don't want you to become Microsoft. They don't want you to become Google without them actually co-opting and controlling you.
They don't even want you to be Mr. Smith who goes to Washington.
No, you cannot be Jimmy Stewart. Absolutely not. I agree. All right, let's take some callers. We've actually got someone who's been on the line for 2 hours. Let's go to Drew in New York. Drew, you're on the line.
What's going on, fellas? Keep up the good work, bringing light to these establishments and what they're trying to do to sovereignty. It's a shame what's going on. Have you guys tried to go out to a broader audience like CNN or some of these networks and get the truth out there to a large scale of people, or they just
Well, I
won't
mean,
let that
I've been
happen?
on CNN a couple times.
So
I've been on MSNBC. I've been on the History Channel. I mean, I'll take it when they give it to me, but it's so few and far between that the mainstream media ever wants to cover what the alternative has to say, and then they always do so in a negative light.
Yeah.
We're always the kook. We're bad. We're fringe. But you're not seeing that as much on the streets. You know, again, Hal Sparks, the actor, you know, he used to be on Talk Soup. He gets talked to about 9/11 Truth, and he's like, well, you know, of course they're going to use that as a talking point to attack you on the news. But go to the average American's household at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they're on YouTube watching this stuff. So they're using it as an attacking point, and they have a list of things to attack you on. You know, don't say there's $27 trillion that the bankers stole. You know, don't talk about 9/11 Truth. Don't talk about the Second Amendment and say it's a good thing. Don't say anything bad about global government or the UN or the quote-unquote New World Order. It's okay when Gordon Brown gets up at the G20 and says that they're building a New World Order and then a New World Order is emerging. But as soon as you have criticism for that global order, then you're the bad guy, and then it doesn't exist. You're a kook. And I see that time and time again. I thank you for the call, Drew. Let's go to Tony. Randy in Texas. Randy, you're on the line.
Hello, how you doing, Jason and Stewart?
Hey.
Yes, I see that snowstorm up there in the Northeast, and I think, damn global warming.
Well, there's another one. You know, you're not allowed to talk about global warming in a negative light despite ClimateGate coming out in the news. The State of the Union address, he gets up in front of Congress in the House, and what's he say? He's like, well, all those people that deny global warming. And then it's a big laugh. It's a big laugh. But in my stack here, you know, I've got more lies about global warming coming out. And, of course, Phil Jones, one of the scientists for the UN, who I have his email featured in the next film I'm doing, Invisible Empire, where he literally says, yes, the data shows that we've been cooling for the last 7 years. This is from 2005, since 1998, but it's not statistically significant. Then you find out they dumped all of the source data, so nobody could go over it. And now the headline is, oh, Phil Jones contemplated suicide. We were too hard on him by actually exposing the truth. And this maddens me. It absolutely maddens me. And then in that story, by the way, where they say that Phil Jones contemplated suicide, they associate him with Dr. David Kelly, who was murdered, and they called it a suicide. For those that don't know, Dr. David Kelly was the one that said, yes, they sexed up reports that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, and then they found him in the woods with his wrist slit. And then they compare it to this guy right here, folks. It drives me nuts. I mean, how far off base right now is the mainstream media? How much truth are we really getting from them, Stewart? What do you think?
Well, as you said, it's little tiny tidbits here and there. But, you know, the answer really is the Internet and our own independent, you know, journalists like yourself. That's where the answer is going to lay.
Yeah, and the thing that boggles my mind is, what does InfoWars.com do? What does Jason Bermas do? They go to the Times Online, they go to Reuters, they go to CNN.com. There's nothing in here that the establishment, the mainstream media, isn't telling us. We get it in, you know, paragraph 17, page 2. In one sentence. And we say that, and then we're the kooks. All right, let's go to our next caller. Let's go to Terrence in Texas. Terrence, you're on the line.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, Stewart.
Hey.
I'm calling. I want to ask Stewart. You got the 1793 Chisholm versus Georgia. You got Bob Schultz suing the government for bailing out AIG. For a person to take on anything, you have to quit your job and become. It takes over your life. Do you have anything on Oath Keepers to give the people education on things they should know, the duties of the sheriff, constitutional, simple things they can use, you know, just to help promote the movement of liberty and freedom?
Well, right now we're writing our Oath Keepers handbook, and unfortunately I've been traveling around so much that I haven't been able to do as much writing as I'd like on the site. So I'm going to try to change that soon. We'll have an Oath Keeper University on the site too, all free links. The main point, I always start at the very basics. Start with the Declaration of Independence, start with our philosophical underpinnings, what makes us Americans. And you go from there to our Constitution, which is simply the method we the people chose to secure our liberty. And then you go from there and, you know, read the Federalist Papers. You can read the Declaration for the Cause of Taking Up Arms of 1775, which is a very good document to read. I believe it was 1775 or 1776. It was June of 1776, I believe it's written. So you go and read all these different documents so you understand your own heritage and history, and then you go from there. And then you can look at what's going on now and see it through the proper lens of we the people are sovereign, governments by our consent only. They have no authority whatsoever to do anything outside of that. And, of course, you should understand the problems with our money supply, too. Sound money backed by gold or silver is what the founders intended, and not what they have now. I mean, they experienced the Continentals. That's why the old saying, not worth a continental. They experienced paper currency, and that's not what they meant when they said Congress has the authority to coin money. And so these are the bedrock things we should know and understand, and not pay so much attention to the circus in D.C. of this party versus that party, which is kind of like the Super Bowl.